Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, please continue to pray for me, especially pray for mercy from this hot weather. You can pray by singing along with me, gesturing at your screen, and leaving a dislike on this video. Let's pray a few more times while we wait for a few guests to show up. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, please continue to pray for mercy from this hot weather. Today it's hot enough to melt gallium outside. Unfortunately, I don't own any gallium, believe it or not, mostly because it's messy. And so I, but I'm thinking about getting some because of how hot it is outside. I'm thinking of building two things I want to do: make some crystals out of it, similar to bismuth, but also, when it's hot like this, I wonder if you could put like a thermometer together, kind of like how we used to have mercury thermometers. I'm thinking of getting a glass bulb with some test tubes and make a thermometer to measure how hot Arizona summers are getting. But other than that, I really, Peter, dislike hot weather. I had a couple of bad experiences with it last year. To give you an idea how hot it sometimes gets, I had been in the process of moving. And I wanted to see if this previous place that I lived was ready. I moved out of one place because they wanted to do renovation. And so now, 4 or 5 months later, I wanted to see if it was available again. But unfortunately, the owner of the place, I don't know if I wrote down the wrong number, so I couldn't call them. And so I thought I would swing by their home just to check it up. And I drove by. They weren't home, and I decided I wanted to leave a note on the door. I started writing this. This was around the time of the 4th of July. I want to say I started writing the note, and I realized I couldn't. That was that hot. I had to go back in my car, turn on the car, just to write that note. We're talking literally two sentences. Hey, how are you doing? Well, how did the renovations go? I'm looking for housing again. Something to that effect. Call me. That's all I wanted to write, and I couldn't even do it for 2 minutes. That's how hot it was. And another time, I had driven to an art show, and I had a big box of holy crosses made of bismuth. They were about like 1 inch by like half an inch, and they spilled all over the floor of the car. And as I was picking them up, I realized I couldn't even pick up everything from the car because of how hot it was. The best analogy I could give is think back to when you were in high school, and when the first time you got to go to your girlfriend's home, and maybe her dad didn't approve of you, and you got into a fight with her dad, and he wanted you to get out of the house, and you lost your car keys in her sofa, and you got to go look for them, and meanwhile he's screaming at you while you're looking for your keys. That's the analogy I would give for how hot it was in the car last summer. You couldn't even have 2 seconds to look for something, to write a note, to make a phone call. It was like as soon as you turned off the car, it was done. Like it was like the air conditioning was never on in the first place. And that makes me really want to move out of the Phoenix area. And then not long after the apartment situation and the art show situation, I got a really bad case of long COVID. And the whole world turns against you. One thing I really despise about the United States, and especially here in the desert, it wasn't so bad in Seattle, but here in Phoenix, one thing I really despise is that no matter how well you're doing, you're never too many crises away from the world turning against you, right? So, for example, yesterday I did pretty good at my job, right? I'm starting to turn the tide around. I had some performance issues earlier this year, but I'm starting to turn the tide around. But I'm never too far away from total chaos in my life, right? Last night I almost got into a car accident. Had I actually gotten into that car accident, chaos, right? Missing work and falling behind again, and my eating disorder may return again if I'm stressed about that, right? And get a COVID-19 and it's chaos again, right? If I got COVID-19 today and missed work, not to mention how hot it is again, it's just chaos, right? When you stop to think about it, most of us, even if you're very well off, most of us are not too many bad events from total chaos in our lives. I invite you to stop and think about it because it really makes you, it really humbles you sometimes. And so last year I got a really bad case of long COVID during the heat wave. And when I went out to the store to get some water, and there was nowhere to sit down, and it's 115 degrees outside, I sit on a mobility scooter, and the security guard in the store was very hostile to me, wanting to kick me out. And he didn't even show any concern. Had he said, "How are you doing? What's going on?" He didn't even do that. He said, "Sir, you have to leave." And so I said, I'll make it quick. I'm sorry. I'm just recovering from COVID-19. Oh, COVID-19. And he backed away from that. Had I said that, I'll make it quick. I'm just recovering from chemotherapy. I'll make it quick. I just had a heartbreak. Actually, my girlfriend and I were just in the store. She ran because of something. Had I said anything, had I said I twisted my ankle in the store, had I said that, I had mental health drama, right? Had I said that I anything else other than a contagious disease, right? He would have picked me up and dragged me out of the store. And so, yeah, I don't like the hostility of the United States, which is why I recently started dating a girl in Poland Taiwan, and so I met a Polish girl here in the Phoenix area. Over in Taiwan and in Poland, I'll talk about two stories that I ran into over there. When I met the girl in Taiwan back in January, it was the last day of my vacation in Taiwan, and I had to come home to the United States. I was so heartbroken. And when I got to the hotel room, I was staying in a hostel. When I got back to the hostel, everybody was very accepting of that. In fact, everybody helped me pack up and get ready for the flight home the next day. And the next day, I had a flight at 9 o'clock. I got up at about 5:30, and most of my roommates were already up, concerned about me. That would never happen here in the United States, right? Actually, I tried to stay in a hostel when I went to go visit a girl in another city, and it did not turn very well. I was in Poland 6 years ago, and I made a mistake on the train. What had happened? I had flown to Warsaw, Poland, and I was going to take a train to Gdansk Bay. I remember this is June, July. We got like really long days. Poland is very high north. I think what's the latitude of the latitude of Gdansk, Poland. It is 54 degrees north, right? So we are 43 right here. But I got on the train and I noticed this girl that I was thinking of making a move on. But there was a guy sitting next to her, and I didn't think they were related. I think the guy was like Middle Eastern descent, and I didn't think they were related. And so I was thinking about how to ask the guy if I could switch seats with him. I want to make the move on the girl, but I didn't want the girl to hear that. I was thinking about that. Just as I was thinking about that, the girl got up to go to the bathroom or something. I'm like, this is my chance. I'm going to go make small talk with the guy. I talked to him and about what I was doing, traveling to Gdansk, what I'm planning on doing. And I asked him, can I ask you for a favor? And he said, well, what's going on? I was like, don't make this a big deal, but can I switch seats with you? I want to make a move on her. And so guess what happened? It was his wife. And I was so embarrassed out of my mind. And I slid her away to hide in a different coach of the train. And for 3 hours during the trip, I was so lost and confused. I was embarrassed. And I wanted to slither out. I was looking for the other exits of the train because I didn't want him to confront me when we were getting off of the train. I couldn't find another way out of the train. And so I figured I'm going to have to see him. I tried to disguise myself a little bit. I tried to mess up my hair a little bit, change up my clothes and all that, try so that he wouldn't recognize me. And so I got off. He recognized me anyway, and he gave me the facial impression of that I didn't have to do that. It was no big deal, and he wished me a good trip. When I got back, the following day, I went to visit a friend that I knew in Warsaw, and I told her all about the drama of the train ride. And my friend said it was actually not a big deal because a lot of guys would be very pleased if somebody thought their wives were attractive. That's what my friend told me. She said it was no big deal. But over here in the United States, I think it would be. I cannot imagine doing that in the United States, right? Oh, unless you had a concealed carry, I wouldn't recommend trying this here in the United States, right? And that's part of the reason why I want to move out. And not to mention the hot weather and the fact that, we, I don't know why people here in Arizona think it is perfectly acceptable to not call out when it's 115 degrees, but they'll gladly call out when there's like 1 inch of rain. I'd rather go to work when there's 1 inch of rain, right? I don't understand it. Tomorrow I'm going to be applying for a job in, I'm interviewing for a job in northern Idaho. And I'm a little bit apprehensive about that too. We don't have the hot summers here, but we got really cold weather here. And so, thank God, calling out when it snowed in is a lot more acceptable. That's the one thing, the one saving grace that I do have. And so, I think the only thing about cold weather that might bother me is that a lot of times I don't always have good chemistry with my roommates or my landlord, and getting into housing drama when there's cold weather outside is probably infinitely more challenging. At least in hot weather, you could usually run your car and be okay, right? Cold weather might be a little bit trickier, right? Especially if it's multiple inches of snow. It will probably make me respect my roommates a whole lot better than I currently am, right? I got into a lot of dramas with my roommates, two sets of roommates actually, in large part because of my dating drama. I was lost and confused and all that. Anyway, pray for mercy from the cold weather. Pray for my connection with the girl in Taiwan and the Eve Curry here in the United States. Pray for my job in the Northern Idaho University. Pray for the tariffs to end as well. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.